Hello and welcome to another episode of TesterSpeak Season 3 on the TestChat YouTube channel with me, Brijesh Dev, your host. Now, today I have got somebody who has really inspired me the recent days with his thought process, with his approach, with his, candid thinking, candid writing, and, the mindset that he brings in towards testing and quality. And what impresses me the most is the fluidity in his language, which clearly shows the clarity of thoughts that he brings in. It's been quite impressive to know him for not a long time, but in a short time, there has been a lot of that I have learned from him. So without any further delay, let me welcome my guest today, Sahil Puri. Welcome, Sahil.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brijesh. It's an honor to be here and discussing about testing with you. Thank you for the invite.
Well, and for the audience, if I look a little tired, yes, it's early morning. It's not even 6:30 my time, so bear with me if I look a little cranky. But anyways, Sahil. So like I said in my introduction, I am quite impressed with the kind of stuff that you do, the kind of stuff that you talk. You are now working as a quality engineering manager with Zupee. So please explain quality engineering management. What does this entail?
Okay, so quality engineering management. I think the first two words, or of this role of this big heavy word says quality and engineering. So I think the core, the very fundamental goes to being an advocate of quality, and then adding a very important subset, or you can say a suffix, which is the engineering part. So I think a very important aspect of a quality engineering leader or a quality engineering manager is to be very much clear about the fundamentals, about what are the roots of this role. Now, if we go back in history, this role has gone through a number of transitions over the years. And by transitions, I mean having a set of acronyms, a set of a wide range of expectations, skills, tools, everything related to this role. So a quality engineering mindset should be very clear, not only of the fundamentals, but of the requirements or the skills, which are expected from a particular kind of situation, or team, or members. Then when we add a leader or a manager, to this entire role, or this vast ocean, it becomes a kind of someone who shows the path, someone who builds such a culture, and someone who basically designs the entire strategy for this role or for this team. So I think a quality engineering manager is someone, from my perspective, who understands the current requirements, the current expectations out of the team, who understands the current talent density, and is very comfortable in envisioning and setting up a path to bridge these two milestones, which is the current talent density and the skill set of his team, or his or her team, and the expectations that the leadership has, and the expectation that the entire organization has from the QA team or from the SDET team. So I think building that gap, and it's a daily process. It's a daily improvement process. So quality engineering, it's very easy for a quality engineering manager to get impatient, or to be under the burden of enormous expectation. For example, 0% production leaks, 100% automation. These are some of the unrealistic, expectations thrown at a quality engineering manager every now and then. So that's why I said in the very starting, if your fundamentals are correct, if you know what you're doing and why you're doing, in order to meet the long-term vision, I think you can basically ditch those unexpected, unrealistic expectations and put forward your points in a more factual, in a data-oriented manner. Plus, I think last I really want to add from my personal experience, for a quality engineering manager, in fact, for any leader, you have to take care of the expectations not only of your team, in terms of your colleagues or members who are working with you, but also the expectation of the leadership.
Correct.
So these two can be entirely different boxes sometimes, right? And your state of mind can go haphazard in meeting those two expectations. And when we add a quality engineering manager to it now adds the pressure of your uh, uh, counterpart team managers as well. So I feel it's a 2 or 4-sided expectations. And that you have to convert very smartly into collaboration. Very smartly, you have to convert it into constructive, collaboration, and that's how your journey will be smooth. Your journey will be, towards the right curve, towards the right, path, and then you will be able to build the right quality engineering mindset and culture in that.
You've used one word which I actually love, and that is culture. How does one build a culture of quality? Because the reason I ask this is because, my perception of quality may be different from yours. Okay, quality for a certain stakeholder may mean something else, and for another stakeholder may mean something else. Whatever is of good quality to you may not be of adequate quality to a developer, right? So everybody has their own perception of quality. Having said that, how do you build that culture of quality within the team so that everyone has at least an idea of what the wavelength is, and they collaborate like you mentioned, and they work together? So how do you build that culture?
Very important point, Brijesh, because and as I told you in the first answer also, it requires very smart thinking and improv thinking, right? Starting with how to build a culture. I think first and foremost, you as a quality engineer, I'm not talking about a leader or a manager, as a quality engineer, you have to understand what are the goals of my organization as a whole. If no matter if there are 50 people or 50,000 people working in an organization, what are the motto or the goals of my company? And on a very generic level, if you see, you can divide it into 3 buckets, which can be the user experience. Why I said user experience is the first topmost motto, because I personally feel users have been really, they are having the best of their time, because in this world of competition, they have enormous choices, right? Me as a user, it will take just 1 minute to uninstall an app and go to its competitor, right?
Correct.
And that might be providing me better discounts and better. So right now that user stickiness and that reliable user term is fading away, right? So
Yeah.
user experience is the topmost, should be the topmost motto of any organization, or especially a startup. Second being the business impact. because you are there to make revenue, make profit. So business impact is a very important motive. And the third is it kind of connects with the user experience, but it is also user impact. Right? It may be it may point out to retention, retaining your existing users. It may point out to bringing your users and enabling them to spend more time in your application. So those kind of impactful areas that you can create. So once you understand these top most 3 or 4 generic motives or objectives of your entire company, now now you can start collaborating and open the channels of collaboration and information with all the cross-functional teams. Now, very interesting aspect with that, I always think a quality engineering or testing role, if we see it in the form of a Venn diagram or a circle, it has its boundaries overlapping, very much overlapping with all the other roles. Right. And it starts from project management to product management to design to customer service team to marketing to everyone, because uh, more often than not, they need us more than we need them. And there are times when we need some critical pieces of information that can save us enormous time and effort. And so we are in need of that source of information and correct information. So because of this overlapping, now comes the smartness part. Now comes I'm not pointing out to please anyone, but you have to ask the questions in their language. You have to set the context right of what their priorities are. Then only you can get the right amount of information. So what we can do is we can start opening those channels and understand what their concern areas are, what their problematic areas are, and to our surprise, we'll find out that all their concern areas and all their suggestions and all the information you'll be able to track down to the 3 buckets that we discussed in starting, which is either the business impact, or user experience. Because that's from my understanding, that's the reason why everyone is grinding day and night.
Yeah.
There can be more buckets, but you will be able to point out in one of those buckets. Now, what I personally do is I sit with these cross-functional team members, maybe 101, maybe many to one, but understand their concern areas and then try to pitch in or try to suggest my solution, in the form of process, in the form of tools, in the form of automation, and that can be anything, as a possible solution to their own problem, to their own concern areas. And I think moving to explaining quality at every level, I think that was the crux of your question, how quality can be generalized at these different layers. I think you have to set the agenda and set the perspective very correctly. If as a quality engineer, you say that quality is everyone's responsibility, then you must be the enabler for that code.
Right.
You must yourself know how, because everyone is going to ask you how. So as simple as that. So if you want to move away from the blame culture, if you want to move away from the QA centric quality culture, then you have to make every layer understand that what are the different quality gates in your organization, and make sure there is a different gatekeeper at every quality gate, right? And with this responsibility, with this RNR that you just provided in the form of a quality gate and writing a gatekeeper in front of every quality gate, those different teams can understand their contribution, their responsibility in the overall quality. And when I myself prepared this chart of quality gate, starting from the first level of SDLC to the last, I realized that QA is only responsible for 20 or 30% of the entire product quality, and the rest 60 and 70% are owned by these cross-functional teams. So I found it really, first of all, I was kind of surprised, amazed, and then I kind of asked myself, the importance of QA team in this entire chart. And I found that the quality engineer is actually the enabler for all the gates.
Right.
So kind of we are working in the background. It's kind of a selfless job that we ought to do in order to enable everyone and be in the limelight for that quality, and then take a step back and let those quality gates work on auto mode. So I think that's the way that you can start and build up a culture of quality at different layers, at different cross-functional levels. And slowly you'll see that it will pick up the autopilot mode with your intervention needed every now and then, maybe for an audit purpose or maybe for some improvement here and there. But that's the easiest starting point from my experience.
It's a very interesting answer, and especially because you've used a term which is quite often associated with testers, where people challenge that you shouldn't be doing that, whereas you brought in that angle, and that is of a gatekeeper. Okay, having quality gates and gatekeepers. So I would want you to elaborate a little more on that, because the reason I say is because, quite often you will see people challenging testers saying, hey, you're a tester, don't try to be a gatekeeper of quality, right? You would see a lot of people, especially the stakeholders, the managers, making these kind of statements. And there is a reason why, is because, people still believe that, okay, testers are the ones who are trying to own quality. Despite saying that quality is everybody's responsibility, they try to behave as if they are the gatekeepers, they are the owners of quality. And this kind of puts off the other people. So that's why, they try and say, okay, don't be a gatekeeper. Whereas you, on the other hand, are suggesting to have quality gates at every level and have a respective gatekeeper. And you mentioned that it cuts across the cross-functional teams. So I would like you to elaborate a little more on your answer and help me understand better, rather help all of us understand better as to what your thought process behind that is.
So you touched upon a very practical problem, as per my experience, that more often than not, QA is expected to be the owner and the gatekeeper. And then, especially when a production incident happens and, when a production bug comes. I'll be very honest here. The most of the teams, they understand quality is everyone's responsibility and these quality gates, but quality is a very abstract term. Right. Quality is something that is very hard to calculate in either monetary or in either some factual metrics. We have been trying to develop and use some metrics as a community, but still that can also be tracked down to good development practices, good product management. So there is very little left for a QA team or quality engineering team to showcase in the form of metrics. So because of this abstractness, what happens is the lack of ownership and the lack of then comes the lack of again ownership. But what I call in cricket terms is playing on the front foot. It's like everyone goes on the back foot whenever whenever it's time to take ownership, to take responsibility, to create a preventive measure and to accept. So I think I normally attach it with the word acceptance. So I'll give a very practical example of whenever a production incident happens and a production bug comes, and when it's time to play on the front foot. What's best is accept what happened. If there are 9 or 10 quality gates in your organization that you have prepared, and the 9th and 10th, or maybe the 8th and 9th being that of QA team, then I think it's like a stack. It's bottom up, right? So it's basically last in first out approach. So everyone first goes out to the QA team that it was the last gate. What happened? So what we can do is accept and understand what happened. Make the RCA, make the preventive measure. And what happens with acceptance is you don't resist now.
Yeah.
You accept your own shortcomings, your own loopholes, because there will be some loopholes if it has leaked through the quality gate. Now the fun part comes that when you accept, now the question comes that the QA or the quality engineering team were not the one who produced the bug in the first place. We were able to catch hopefully 99% of the bugs. But that 1% that leaked, we were not the ones who incepted that into the code. And very correctly, now if we really want to improve the situation and ensure that this should not happen again, we have to move up the ladder of the quality gates. So then the quality engineering team should be enabled by the management and should have that confidence after the acceptance to move up the ladder. Now comes what happened in the dev test. Were they covered in unit test or any form of integration test by the dev? If not, then maybe we can add that. Then comes the code review. What happened at the code reviewer stage? What happened when we got 3 checks in the form of code reviews? This might have been caught at maybe one of those review gates. And then comes the design, the backend design, the UI UX, and then comes even some errors and some bugs can be dragged down to the PRD itself or the client requirement itself, where they were not crystal clear, and that caused the entire confusion. So I believe every bug that comes, and I personally use this tool, that whenever a production bug comes, if you stop at making a analysis or a root cause discussion at the last gate, that is the QA gate, things are not going to improve. Things are not going to improve even 1%. This bug will come again, I'm sure. No matter it's my team and I'm taking the ownership. So, and when you make 3 or 4 preventive measures at each of these quality gates, definitely, because now you're not craving to find the bug, you're craving to prevent the bug. You are working towards preventing the entire root cause. And most of the times, sometimes it's because of some coding errors, sometimes it's because of unit test miss, but most of the time it's because of lack of communication between all those stakeholders.
Absolutely.
And most of the time, what I feel is things can be improved by just a here and there tweak, a simple tweak in the entire process.
Right.
And maybe a simple KT session that now everyone is known of this fact. So what I believe is doing these activities and these team level activities not only increases the confidence of a QA team, but they also increase the trust of different teams. You see, they accepted what happened, and now it's our chance to accept.
Our opportunity, yes.
So I think
I so much like that answer, because I have written about it extensively, about production leaks and stuff like that, and my point is also on the similar lines. Okay, my basic question that I would ask somebody when you see a production bug: does everyone have the same understanding of the problem? This will be my first question. Okay, because that is the root cause, that everyone does not understand the problem correctly. And I'll tell you how. Like, for example, if you're going backwards in the cycle, okay, what happened in testing? what happened in unit testing, what happened when you were designing, okay, what happened when you were doing the requirements analysis. Okay, somewhere something was not communicated properly, like you said, which meant that everyone did not have the exact same understanding of the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay, so that is the question that I would ask, and I would try to find out the answer to that rather than thinking about who missed the bug or what happened. And because that will solve not only this bug, but any other bug which comes up in future also. Every time people will think, "Arey, let's talk. Let's make sure that we understand that, okay, this is what the customer needs. And this is what we are trying to build for him. And this is how, or her, okay, we have to be gender sensitive, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is how exactly, the product needs to be built. And this is the problem that is being solved for them. Okay, and once everyone understands the same thing, then the entire team will work towards that shared goal. Right? And then the chances of making mistakes are less. Mistakes will still be there. Let's admit it, or like you said, let's accept the fact that there will be mistakes. So I just love that answer that you gave, because it is exactly the same thing that I think. Okay. Anyways, now we've spoken a lot about quality, engineering, acceptance, and things like that. Brings me to a fundamental question. How did Sahil Puri end up in testing?
So that's interesting. This question can be tracked down 10 years back when I started my journey. I will like to divide it into two parts, like how testing chose me, and then how eventually I chose testing. Because these are, I think, in most of the test engineers' life, these two are the most important parts of the journey. So it was, I think, the placement season of 2012 when this company came with a huge brand name and a fair amount of CTC being offered, to incentivize everyone, every fresher who was interested in the job offer for a test engineer role. Right. I obviously, because of the first two factors, applied in the interview process. To be very honest, Vijesh, like I at that time was not very sure about the difference between software development, software testing. It kind of I didn't have any mentor at that time, so I, at a very fundamental level, it looked like a entire IT sector to me. It was very interesting to join it. So thankfully I got the offer. I was selected, and that's part one where testing chose me and testing happened to me. Now comes the interesting part that made me choose testing. So I think fortunately 2 or 3 very lucky things happened when I joined my first company. The first thing is I started with a project leading team, which was involved in the end-to-end software testing lifecycle and very closely involved with collaboration of different stakeholders, including the client. Along with this, I was very closely involved in executing or strategizing and designing for different types of functional and non-functional testing, like accessibility testing, performance, compatibility, security, and different forms of functional and levels of testing. I feel that at such a young experience, having an exposure to this vast horizon of testing, within 3 or 4 months of joining, I was so mesmerized, by the vastness that I wanted to go deeper, because but one of the personality traits is being curious. So I really wanted to go deeper into the things. And then third being, I joined a team which was working for North American telecommunication partners, right? And and it's my personal point of view that American people by nature are very much aware of their rights and of their, when they're, and especially they're very much better testers if they're using a product. So from there, I got the gist of the importance of user experience and quality, right? The importance of meeting the timelines along with the best possible quality, right? And then working with the Korean company, quality was something that was like above anything
Yeah.
to the leadership. So I find myself very lucky to have got those lessons and the correct doses from failures at that point in my career myself. And the fourth lucky thing that happened to me that I got to travel to overseas countries and got a chance to meet these global testers to understand their point of view and style of working, right? And I remember in the second year, I suppose, of my working, I was in one of these business trips to Texas, and I happened to cross a test engineer who was trying to automate the sanity suite of a network testing stack. Now, network testing was anyway very new to me, and it was
Yeah.
something that I was already, trying to learn and trying to understand. And I was, so much amazed and mesmerized that he was trying to automate that tricky part of testing, which is network
Yeah.
testing,
Yeah. Yeah.
with very simple tools. So I remember I came back with a lot of learnings, but that seed of automation in my mind, and then my curiosity helped me in the next 2 months to build a simple sanity suite of ADB shell commands and simple bash scripts.
Right.
And I trained my team and colleagues on that, and we started using it. I was recognized and highly appreciated for this effort. And all these things in the first 1 or 2 years really triggered a journey of a lifetime, like which I'm living now. And like from that day to today, I remember I have chosen testing almost every day of my career, right? And like I was thinking it today morning also, see what this career has given me. Like I'm in front of one of the experts and leaders in this
No, no,
industry, and no, like it makes me very feel very humbled, because I like what more can I ask from this role and from testing? So I'm very grateful.
thank you so much. You're really kind. I don't consider myself as an expert. I'm still learning, but because there is so much to learn. Okay, and you brought up another interesting thing about network testing, trying to automate that stuff. I've got my hands dirty in that aspect as well. Uh, Back in the day, when people spoke about mobile testing, it was not just limited to mobile app testing. So it was mobile device testing, mobile network testing, and mobile app testing. So the whole gamut of things. And of course, that those days when initially we started off with these things, there were not many tools available in the market which would help you. Like nowadays, you have tools, you have frameworks which support your testing and make your life very easy. So those days, we had to write our own tools, our utilities, and to keep things very simple, like you said, ADB shell commands. Okay, use those and use a little bit of common sense to tie those commands together in a sequence which will give you a definitive result. So it was a combination of knowledge of those commands, of your common sense, and you will get the results, right? So that is how we used to do it. And I happen to work with a very young team, okay, of people who were fresh out of college, because I was given a choice to pick a team, and I said I don't want to hire experienced people. I want to hire freshers and make sure that that they learn and they grow. And that team, because they were curious in nature, they would try and experiment and try to build this, and it worked very well for us. the whole energy could be utilized in this direction because they were so curious. So yeah, it reminds me of my days as well. It was somewhere around the same time frame, 2010, 11, kind of, but it was fun. Okay. So I also remember when, Candy Crush came, Candy Crush Saga, and I started first by, seeing what game it is, and started testing the game, and then immediately noticed that this is, draining the battery like anything. Then I said, okay, so there's a mobile version available and there is a desktop version available, which is on Facebook, which is, you have to log in via Facebook into that game. And if you go into desktop also, it drains your laptop's battery like anything, rapidly. Okay. So I raised the concern to King Mobile, which was the manufacturer of that game. Initially, no response. And then about a month or so later, they came back and said, yeah, we recognize the issue. There is a lot of this thing. There's a lot of backlash going on. But by that time, I had become an addict of that game. So, so what started off as an experiment went in that direction. So anyways, the good old days of mobile testing, yeah, a lot of fun.
Yes.
Coming back to your journey. Now, when you started, a decade ago in 2012, things were different than now. Okay, now we see there is a plethora of tools available in the market. There is a mad rush towards trying to get into automation, and you talk about anything. Okay, suddenly people start talking about automation. And the moment people start talking about automation, they start talking about tools. Okay. You having gone through that journey of the past 10 years, how do you look at this? Do you see this as a challenge in the tech industry, or do you see it differently? What's your opinion?
First of all, I would like to accept that yes, this has been a change. Like, you are absolutely right that over the last decade, things are now more focused on tools, be it testing or be it any role or any tech specific role. So and yes, of course, this is a challenge. This is a challenge not only for the employer or not only for the manager who is seeking out a suitable candidate for his or her team, but it is at the same time an equal challenge for the candidates, including the experienced, mid-senior, and the freshers who are entering the industry. Now, what happens is, since there is a plethora of a wide variety of tools which are available in the market, it's impossible for someone to gain a knowledge of all the tools,
right?
And it creates more confusion. It creates more myths and misconception about what is exactly required to to be a good quality engineer, right? And at the same time, if we see again on the other side, being an employer, being a manager, while even taking an interview or discussing testing with the candidate, it becomes all the way more difficult to identify if the candidate has the crux or the basic knowledge of automation, rather than focusing on a particular or one or two tools in that 1 or 1.5 hour window. So yes, I suppose this is a big challenge that we have to solve as a community. One thing that I have realized is even the best of I won't name, but the best of farm companies, in their interview process, the role of tools is less than 5%. The 95% is your coding aptitude, your testing aptitude, your fundamentals, your personality, and the kind of culture fit. So that's the reality of the at the ground level. That the particular tool stands for only 5% of your growth or your success in a particular role. The remaining 95% is your learnability, is your curiosity, and your ability to adapt. That's like, I have seen engineers in the space of my team organization, those were my colleagues, seniors, or maybe in my team working with me. Most of the successful or highly valued employees were the ones who were able to adapt and learn anything and everything very quickly. Were able to be very flexible and switch from X tool to Y and then to Z, depending on the team's requirement, depending on the project's requirement, and depending on what will suit the needs and give the best ROI at that particular time. And those who are very much inflexible or adamant to a particular tool, to a particular language, and so on, are the ones who find it very difficult to adapt. No matter you find 10 or 20 advantages of a particular tool, you have to still be in the flow of your team. You have to be you have to align with what is exactly required at a particular point of time. So I'll elaborate a bit with a very small example. Most of the test engineers start with when their journey of transition, they start with something like a programming language, Java, and a tool, Selenium. And I'm not saying that's a bad start. It's a very good start to enter automation. It's a very good start to enter this world, where you can save your own time and use automation as a service to you, right? But then after learning Selenium, or after reaching that intermediate level, when you feel that you are ready to use it in your day-to-day work job or apply to companies for interviews, before that, be sure that you understand the why. Be sure that you understand the fundamentals of automation. Otherwise, this will going to hit you very hard. I'm being very honest here, because learning one tool does not make us an automation engineer or a quality engineer, by any chance. Until we go to the very depth and find the answers of 5H and 1W. I think 5W.
Yeah,
Like really sorry for that, but until we understand, so in my personal case, what after we automate the first 50 cases of my API automation, like, I personally have stopped after that and thought, like, what now? I've learned that I have automated this in my current job. How to move forward with that? Because in practicality, you have to now make it useful for the set of 50 or 100 test engineers to use your automation suite. Right. You have to make it useful for the development team for early feedback. You have to make it useful for your release engineering team to use it in their pipelines. Right? So until you give the answers of how can you run my test cases, where you can run my test cases, when you can run my test cases, and so on, and who is the best user of my test suite, I think that is going to rot, or that is going to be obsolete very soon. So you are going to hit a roadblock if you don't understand the depth. And that's why I want to focus that chasing a tool or focusing on one tool is not the answer. But yes, if you have started with one tool, go to the very depth and find the answers of these 5W1H. And once you find the answers, then you'll find yourself very comfortable in learning any automation tool within a span of days to weeks. Because now you understand then that why am I doing this and what is the best use case of my effort.
Right. So, interesting thing. I want to ask you at the back of the same question. Okay. You did mention about being curious about a particular tool, learning that tool deeper, and then putting in perspective as to how it can help you test better. You've been in an engineering manager's role, which I am sure you've had the position or the opportunity to interview a lot of candidates as well for roles like SDET and stuff like that. How much value do these coding challenges and coding tests bring in the whole interview process? Because if you see, lead code or the rest, I don't want to go down that path. I mean, they seem to be dominating. Okay, and if I look at some of the recent experiences within the test chat Telegram group, people bombard the group with these questions, trying to look for answer. I was asked to automate this segment or write code for this segment. Can somebody help me? Because I could not. Okay. Or, how do you solve this problem and that problem? And I'm thinking, aren't you creating a bunch of automators rather than creating a bunch of testers? Right. So what, in your opinion, as an engineering manager, is the role of these coding challenges and what do you get out of it?
It's a very sensitive topic, so I'll present my my personal opinion of what I think, from the bottom of my heart. And I want to apologize, like, if upfront, if anyone feelings are opposite, right? But see, I'll tell you, if we focus on quality engineer's role, I have said it, I have practiced it 100 times, that the core of this role is testing.
Yes.
How do you approach testing? How do you understand quality? How do you value metrics like user experience? And what's your passion to be in testing, to do testing day and night as a part of your job? So that's my first motive, to understand if I'm interviewing a candidate. And this happens with a lot of activities which are apart from coding.
Yeah.
So if I'm hiring a quality engineer, I sure don't want someone who can just automate and who has no idea about what is testing, what are the fundamentals, how do you approach testing, what are types of testing, and so on. The difficulty that I have faced is candidates are very much open to explore coding and system design, which is required, which is a good to have skill, but they often miss the must have skill, which is what gain do you get by going deeper into performance testing. Because most of the candidates, and I understand it happened to me also till first 5 years or 6 years of my career, that candidates are very upfront that we have not got a chance to do performance testing as a part of our job. But hey, you have not also got a chance to study lead code or to do competitive programming as a part of your job. But you did. You took some time out of your regular job and devoted in lead code programming. So why not have you got an insight just by reading some companies' tech blogs, just by watching some videos and trying some open source tools of what is performance and what is security testing and what is accessibility testing? Why not? So my first criteria whenever taking an interview is a person should be at least 90% passionate about testing and is not there just for the sake of it and just finding a reason to get another job. Now comes the coding part. I use coding as a tool in my interview process as to know the logical thinking ability of the candidate.
Yes.
So I'm not in favor, and I myself, all the candidates who I have interviewed till now can vouch for that. I have not asked anything related to complex data structures and something that is beyond the daily responsibilities of a quality engineer. Never. And I hate those interviewers who ask, and even those companies who ask that, because that is not going to let you know the entire give you the insight of the candidate of the mind. So coding, let's use coding as a tool to understand what is happening inside the mind. And that can come with loud thinking, that can come with logical expressions. I'm not interested in what syntax is the candidate writing, or if he has forgot to put one or two brackets, that's fine. The compiler will tell you that in no time. I am very much focused on a whiteboard writing on a notepad, if it is remote. But my understanding is, for example, a very simple question on how to reverse a string, right? Some people say that it's a now it's a senior secondary level question. Why to ask in such a senior? I can go on up to 40 minutes discussing different approaches, different complexities, and advantage and disadvantage, and memory leakage, and so on, with this simple 10-liner code.
Yes.
And that's what gives me insight about how the other person is thinking. And I always believe coding is very close to mathematics.
Correct.
And both of them are very close to your mind forming patterns. Your
Correct.
mind able to think logically, forming patterns. And once you know your know 0 to 2 or 3, your mind will take you from 3 to 10 by forming some chains and forming the pattern and take you to the answer. So I'm not interested personally when taking an interview if the candidate is able to reach the optimum solution with the best time complexity, with the running code, and with the most top-notch approach. No, I'm interested in how he self-adapts with running feedback and understands the small nuances of problem solving, right? And sometimes the candidates are very upfront that I have not got a chance to brush up my programming skills. Then even it's not wrong to ask them to write a pseudocode or write an algorithm or even share an algorithm. What I do is even the simplest, I discuss 30 minutes on binary search algorithm, and that's how I get to know the insight. So from my perspective, coding holds that much importance only in an interview process, and you can find an alternative to it. It's up to the companies and the managers' perspective. I find it helpful for having a great one-to-one conversation with the candidate, and it doesn't, more often than not, it doesn't feel like an interview, a coding interview, because it's more often than not a loud thinking discussion, and I'm helping the candidate to reach the solution, because that's how things will work in the actual job, right? And I want to clear this also in most of the or the best of the interview processes. Coding is a stepwise marking scheme, just like in a mathematics question, right? So don't force or don't commit or don't stress yourself in finding the right answer and missing all the steps. So you cannot write LHS is equal to RHS and don't write all the steps. So you have to ask the right set of questions when an open-ended question is thrown at you. You have to loud think. You have to ask before starting to implement. You have to think of right set of exception handling, or you can say test cases for your own written program. That's make you an entire overall quality engineer and suitable for this role. That's my perspective.
I quite like that. My recent experiences have been pretty similar, and I've had a lot of friends and people calling me and saying, we wanted to hire testers, but all we get is a bunch of automators who have not a lot of inclination towards testing, but they want to just code and Now, there is a very interesting factor. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I want to add a very important point that,
Please go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
remembered from your point. One of the greatest challenges that I have faced while taking an interview is candidate coming up and wanting one of the extreme jobs. Like they are very upfront that I want 100% automation job, which has nothing to do with testing and the so-called manual testing, right? And they are not interested in actually using their intelligence for testing and be involved in the releases. They want 100% automation. And I have seen the other extreme also, which only wants to be involved in 100% testing, no automation at all. And I don't want to learn, I cannot learn, I will not learn. And that's like both these extremes are very risky attitude for their own career. You have to be adaptive. You have to use automation when the need be, and you have to do testing. You have to use your brain and understand the basic difference between checking and testing. So all these fundamentals are still not a common sense in this community, and that's the greatest risk that I find while taking an interview. Yeah.
For me, both extremes have their specific reasons. One extreme of people wanting to do more of automation has two drivers to it. One is the salary trends of people with automation. So that is a primary driver. Okay, everybody wants more money. How much is enough? Nobody knows an answer to that. So, I have seen people asking for insane amount of money. Like, for example, somebody had 3.5 years of experience and they asked for, I think, 25 or 30 lakhs. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. It took us like 15, 20 years to get to that number. And you're just 3.5 years and you're asking. And only because he can automate. Okay. He can write code. He's learned a bunch of tools. And that's why that gives him the confidence to go ahead and ask the question. In another case, the second driver towards that is because the market is so lucrative. Okay, so it keeps them engaged. Okay, and it also helps them in fulfilling their long gone dream of being a developer. Okay, because the industry is set or the mindset, at least in India, if I can talk about one certain geography, is that if you go and ask any final year student, hey, what do you want to do? If we are talking to BEIT guys, okay, the information technology batch, final year guys, what is your next step? I want to be a developer. Everybody would say. Nobody would say, I want to get into testing. Okay, and this is as close as possible they can get in there towards achieving their dream of being a developer. So that's why they want to just automate. Okay, plus the money, of course. So these are the two drivers for that extreme. For the other extreme, also there is a driver, and that driver is fear. Okay, not a lot of people admit that they are afraid of failure. So when they have written code, okay, they have seen a lot of red on their screen, syntax error, this error, exception missing, semicolon missing, whatever. They've seen a bunch and that has scared them. Oh my God, my code doesn't work. Okay, so instead of thinking that, okay, right now I'm seeing maybe 20 errors on the screen and maybe 3 or 4 warnings, let me try and reduce this number by correcting those mistakes. They get scared by seeing that much and they say, no, I don't think I'm meant for this. Okay, and I can bet that out of 15 guys who have chosen this extreme, hardly 1 or 2 will come to you and accept this, that they are scared of it. Others will not accept that they are scared of programming or getting into that, or there is a fear of failure. So that is my analysis of these two extremes. And you're absolutely right that people choose extremes during an interview. Talking a little further about interviews, and this I know is a sensitive subject. Uh, there is a trend that I have noticed. Okay, people try and not ask questions which are specific to testing. For example, I don't hear a lot of people talking about test strategies in interview. Okay, or for example, asking, okay, how did you test? What was the strategy? And that's why when I talk to a lot of testers, they are oblivious of the fact that they should be thinking about strategy. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, my manager is there, Sahil is sitting, he's the quality engineering manager, he will think of a strategy and I have to just write test cases. Okay. So that is the mindset. How do you beat that mindset?
A very valid problem that I have. And see, you have to cover all the aspects in 2 or 3 rounds. That's the average number of rounds that you get while evaluating a candidate. For sure, drilling down the test scenarios and test planning is one of like important pillar or part of an interview process for a test engineer. But test strategizing requires, it's like the designing round in software development, which requires a whole two-way information flow and discussion for about 1.5 or 2 hours at least. Then only you will be able to understand the test strategy aptitude of a candidate, and that's very difficult to meet in some places. So what I do is try to find out some alternatives of that strategizing. Again, understanding the fundamentals, understanding that the types and testing, using them in your test scenarios, test plans, and then be very logical and a good problem solver are 4 or 5 areas which point to the fact that he or she is going to be a good test strategist. But of course, there can be false positives there, right? There have been some, what we do, there have been some instances where we add a test strategy round, or where we add an extra round, which is mostly by the name of test design principles, which is again a test strategy thing, for someone who is more than 6 or 7 years of experience. That's what we can do as one option, because normally below 5 years of experience, you will get the pointers from the remaining part of the interview. But test strategy, I feel, Brijesh, can also be asked in patches among other rounds and other questions.
Exactly.
Because test strategy is an approach. It is a thinking.
Yes.
What you do is, so what like we do is, below 6 years of experience, or below those senior roles, what you can do is understand those pointers or the spikes, or some reflections that the candidates show while giving answers to other questions, or other be it a coding round, be it a test planning, test scenarios. The approach matters. I'll tell you one instance, one example. Suppose it's a very famous question of how to test an elevator, a lift. Now, if you're focused on test cases, you might expect a senior folk interviewing just raining down all the test scenarios. I'll test this, I'll test. And those scenarios will be all right. Perfect. Yeah. But what's the starting point of that test, and what's the ending point? And how do you plan it from start to end? Gives me a reflection of him or her being a good strategist or not. If you started out with cutting the rope of a lift and checking its resilience, then I think the strategy or the approach needs to be improved. But if you started from functional and ended on functional, then also there is some problem in your strategy. But if you take the right approach, if you include everything and every aspect of user experience and testing, smoothly, and make me understand and convince that the time and the efforts taken are suitable given the ROI of your test approach, then I think, yes, those are the elements of being a good strategist. I feel confident that I'll be able to mentor and guide, this person to be a very best quality engineer. So that's what I normally practice. That instead of a separate round, take hidden pointers and include those strategy points in between your other parts of them.
I again, once again, like that answer a lot. One of my favorite questions to judge the ability or the thought process or the strategic thinking is to ask a very simple question. Have a bottle of water at the desk or wherever. How do you test? So say that, okay, this bottle claims to have a capacity of 650 ml. How do you test to make sure that this is correct? Okay, how do you test the claim, basically? Okay, now those who have studied RST would know the claims testing is one of the testing techniques that is recommended by RST. So there is a claim being made. The bottle reads 650 ml capacity. How do you make sure it is correct? Okay, and this will get the thinking process, the strategizing process started. Okay, it doesn't have to be something really technical. You don't have to have a web page with a login screen and then throw it. That also can be done. For example, if you just go ahead and ask, okay, so there is a login screen, user ID, password, okay button. What is the functional flow? How do you test the entire functional flow? Now, somebody might say, oh, if you put the right username, password combination, then it will take you to the next page. But how? Do you understand what is happening in the background? Do you understand that there are necessary API calls being made down below, which is interacting with your database where the correct information is stored, the user ID, password combination, and that is giving you back as a response a key, which is telling you that, okay, this is the right key, which should allow the user to navigate to the next page. Now, all this interaction is hidden, but do you understand that logic? Have you gone to that depth? Okay, that comes as a part of your strategic thinking. And so for everything, there is a possibility, but my thought process is pretty similar to yours, that you don't have to specifically ask a strategy question. You could mask it in the form of asking different questions and still get the thinking, process. Now, we've been speaking for quite some time, quite a serious discussion. I want to make it a little lighter, so we will get into what I call as a rapid fire section of my interviews. This is usually a fun segment. I will have some questions. You have only 5 seconds to think of an answer. And if it is a multiple choice question, you will have to tell me why.
Seems only fun to you and the audience.
Yeah. So this is my opportunity to put you on the spot. And sorry, I'm not Karan Johar. I don't have any gift hampers. Okay. Anyways, so you've been a Delhi boy all through? I mean, born and brought up in Delhi, or how has it been? So, okay. So, okay, if given a choice, IIT Delhi or Delhi College of Engineering?
I have been an alumni of Delhi College of Engineering, Delhi Technology University. So if given a choice, then yeah, Delhi Technology University again.
Why?
It was a rapid fire. There is no why. It's like the first.
No, there is a why, because I told you, if it's a multiple choice, you have to tell me the reason.
Right now, the first thing that came to my mind was I have been a part of it. I have been a proud alumni. So that's why. And I feel that, when I did the master's from DTU, I understood that, yes, the teachers and the professors hold a very important part. and your peers, the colleagues and your circle holds a very important part. But 70% is your own curiosity, is your own will to learn, right? So no matter if you're studying or passing out from IIT or TTU or from IP or any other university, it's your own will to learn and curiosity that will take you to places. So for me, I think IIT and DTU and all the colleges now, at least after so much experience, comes in the same category. And if given a chance, I'll again repeat that, but with a better mindset, with a better set of curiosity and better set of questions, so that even my professors have to go back and search for answers and come back. So that I will change.
So you basically want to make the professors work hard. All right. So,
Maybe.
okay, the next question. The next question. For food, which is better, Old Delhi or New Delhi?
I like both, but I will say Old Delhi because those hold the legacies, the taste, and the delicious USP of those dishes. So whenever any Delite gets a chance, for sure, we find a way to visit Old Delhi.
Old Delhi. And so, what's your favorite Old Delhi dish?
It can be like in non-vegetarian, it is kebabs, and in vegetarian it like even a simple jalebi with rabdi dish, like it's a dessert, is so delicious, like in Old Delhi, that I even love that.
What part of Old Delhi? Chandni Chowk, maybe? Or
yes, mostly Chandni Chowk, but it has an entire area surrounding Chandni Chowk also, near Jama Masjid and other areas, which hold a lot of these delicacies, like worth trying out.
Yeah, I have been to Delhi a few times recently, but always have missed going towards Old Delhi because of some or the other reason. The visits have been too short. Otherwise, Old Delhi is, up in my radar, in my list as well. To just go and spend, at least 2 days there just eating, doing nothing else. I know that will not be enough to cover the entire, the street food area, but having seen so much on TV, having read so much, and I've been to Old Delhi. I will not say that because I spent 5 years of my school life in Delhi. I was a student of Kendriya Vidyalaya, Sadar Bazaar. Okay, yes. So my father was in the Indian Air Force, so we kept traveling. So I studied from Kendriya Vidyalaya, Sadar Bazaar, Kendriya Vidyalaya number 1. That is one of the schools there. And good old days, first standard to fifth standard. So while I was there at that age, I still have clear memories of visiting Old Delhi, seeing Red Fort and of course Jama Masjid, and being in that area. But yeah, food wise, I still crave because it's many years ago. So
a young Delhi boy at heart. I understand.
Yeah. So my brother was born in Delhi, so he's a Delhiite. Janmabhoomi, Delhi. So anyways, so I think you did pretty well in your rapid fire. Sorry, don't have a hamper. So we'll move back into our discussion on testing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about people who want to get into testing. Okay, the fresh young lot. And like I was saying, there is this thought process, there's this mindset prevailing in engineering colleges or wherever, that one should probably be a developer once they pass out. How do you change that mindset and bring in the value of testing as well to the college level so that people understand that, yeah, it is a good career option?
Yeah, like first of all, I will say that let's accept that this is a problem. Be very open that the freshers and the thinking at that level is often guided by what you hear from your seniors and your mentors, right? So as I told in the starting that how testing happened to me also, I think there are 2 or 3 factors that drive the decision at that point of time. One is the company, the brand name. Second is of course the CTC, the salary part. And the third is what your senior and what your mentor or what your circle has to say about, what your peers has to say about the particular role that you're about to enter, right? Now, so it is basically the word of mouth. Now, word of mouth is something that is the most difficult or the most tricky part, even for the best marketeer or the best company to change, because that comes with time, that comes with patience. You have to sort out your fundamentals, you have to sort out your strategies, initial level strategies, and this might take weeks, months, and years to reach the word of mouth advice, even for a brand. For a role, I think Brijesh, by even seeing the last 10 years, this role has gone to a lot of changes, evolution, but now it has gained that momentum. I feel that with the emergence of quality engineering, with the emergence of a startup world, and some acronyms like SDET and SCT, I think the testing industry is opening up. The leadership, the management, the company, even I would say the investors and every part of that decision-making group understand the importance of quality now, understand the importance of testing. And that's why quality and testing, instead of being outsourced or seeing as a supporting role, are now coming to the limelight, to the central position of the entire software development life cycle. These are the changes which I am very positive about, like, which makes me very happy being part of this community, seeing the changes, even seeing so many roles, senior roles being opening up in small size to mid-size companies, which are related to leadership and testing. Because now uh, most of the management understands that having a test strategy, having a quality driven approach is the necessity of the hour, and it will be like this. Having said that, these effects, these positive changes will take some time, take its own course to trickle down. There have been improvement in the skill set, there have been improvement in the ROI, even the compensation of this role, even a specific example that you mentioned. Those are a very practical reality in today's world.
Yeah.
So all these positive changes will, today or tomorrow, I'm very hopeful that will trickle down through the seniors, through the mentors, to the freshers, and will help them to take better informed decisions rather than just going with the flow or seeing what my right and left peer is doing. And I don't want to be seen as someone out of the line, so let's get with the flow. So those thinking and strategy will change, because I have, even not as a fresher, I have felt that many times during the course of my career, that sometimes I find myself in a minority in my thinking and in actual practical terms, and I have to be very strong-headed at that time, in order to again stay focused and choose testing. So I feel freshers will need even some more guidance, some better guidance from what we and I and you and me can do. As part of community, we can maybe hold more meetups, maybe offer better guidance, in the not only in the form of YouTube videos, but also in the form of one-to-one interactions.
Yes.
Directly approach the colleges, universities. I personally am trying to approach, the placement cells of some colleges, in order to make them understand what really is this role, what really is quality, and what ROI does it hold on a larger level. So I'm very positive if we start with these initiatives as a community, and whatever good is happening already, like fingers crossed, it will be like this with this curve. I think that is going to change in near future for sure.
I quite like your optimism, and I also believe in the same thing. That there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. It's not absolutely dark, and there are steps being taken towards it. Maybe we need a little more awareness at the university levels, changes in the curriculum, maybe bring in testing more to the limelight, because right now if you look at the engineering courses and how testing is placed, if I just take an example of the Mumbai University curriculum, what I noticed was that testing is an elective subject in the 8th semester, which means people can skip it if they want. So as long as if you start, if you keep treating it that way, it will take time. Okay, so change the perspective, maybe explain to the universities that no, this needs to be brought more into the limelight. Instead of making it elective, make it mandatory, give people some exposure. Okay, let them visit companies, talk to testers, allow testers to come and talk to you guys, do that. So doing more of that, I think, will bring in a difference. Well, Sahil, we've been talking for a really long time, but I don't feel like leaving or ending this conversation, but unfortunately we have to. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and every time I speak to you, I learn so much. And like I said in my introduction, I have been so impressed with the work that you do, the clarity of thought, the posts that you write. Okay, and I watched some of your recent interviews. I even watched your recent AMA that you did with our friends at the Test Tribe. Okay, so some very good answers there as well. So basically a huge fan. Okay, so keep up all the good work that you've been doing. Keep educating people around you. There is a lot to learn from you, and we will keep talking, because it's a learning opportunity for me every time, and I'm a little selfish when it comes to learning. So let's keep it that way. It was indeed a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, and you have been an inspiration to me and to thousands of test engineers across the industry. So keep doing the good work, and thank you so much, Pritesh. Thank you.
Thank you. You are very kind, Sahil. You're very kind. I'm just trying to learn and to make sure that we pass on what we have to the next generations of testers, so that it enables them to make the world a better place. Okay, so thank you so much. It was an absolute delight talking to you today. Well, friends, having said that, it brings us to the wrap of this episode. We will keep talking, we'll keep chatting, and I'm sure we will have many guests like Sahil coming here on TesterSpeak. So if you want to see somebody on TesterSpeak, reach out to me. If you are interested in appearing on TesterSpeak, reach out to me, because I believe that every tester has a unique story to tell, and I would like to bring out those stories to the world. So looking forward to talking to you guys soon, and until the next episode, keep testing.